You know, there are moments in life, no matter how much you've been through, where you feel a dull ache. It's when you look around and it seems like the world has left you behind, especially as you get older. I didn't want to make this video, but I had to, because I've realized something that breaks my heart. Too many people, especially those who have crossed the age of 50, are quietly giving up on life. Not because they're weak, not because they're lazy, but because the world around them has stopped believing in them. And when that external belief runs out, we often tend to stop believing in ourselves. But if you're listening to these words right now, that means one thing: you haven't completely given up. Not yet. And I'm going to tell you why that simple decision is so much more powerful than you think. Before we get into this, let me know what city you're listening from in the comments. I want to know where the strongest hearts are. And if this message resonates with you, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss what could be the most important words you hear all year. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked around and felt like time moved on without you? The kids have their own lives, busy with their own concerns. The workplace no longer seems to value the wisdom and experience you've accumulated over the years. And technology, with its breakneck pace, sometimes makes you feel invisible, lost in a world you no longer understand. And yet, you carry more wisdom, more resilience, and more depth than most people walking this earth today. I'm speaking directly to you right now, because the world won't say this loud enough: your time is not over. In fact, it might be just beginning in ways you never imagined. You know, the feeling of being left behind, of being forgotten, is a slow ache that many older people face. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a natural reaction to a society that's changing too fast. We got used to a certain rhythm of life, a way of working, a certain value system. When those things change, it's easy to feel left behind, to feel forgotten. I recently heard about a man in Ohio. His name was Robert. He was 67, had worked the same job for 32 years. Then one day, he was laid off, no warning, just a handshake and silence. For 6 months, he just stayed in his house. No calls, no one checking in. He felt forgotten, like a dry leaf falling from the tree of life. Until one day, he walked into his local library, picked up a 31-day planner, and a book on small-scale farming. He started a vegetable garden in his backyard. Now, he sells produce to half the town. He wasn't doing it for the money. He was doing it because he wanted to matter again. And he did. Here's the truth. Most people will never hear about Robert. The media doesn't cover ordinary people doing extraordinary things at 67. But that's the kind of story I want to share today, because it's also your story. You just haven't written the next chapter yet. A brutal truth that few people dare to speak is this: age is not what holds people back. It's belief. Most people over 60 are still physically capable, and their minds are still sharp. But emotionally, they get tired. Not tired of life, but tired of being told by others that their life is winding down. Listen to me, there is no retirement age for your mind. There is no expiration date for your purpose. I have seen people in their 70s start businesses, write books, adopt healthier lifestyles, even learn new technology. Not because it was easy, but because they stopped accepting the lie that they were done and started becoming more. The only thing that ever truly ends you is when you stop getting better, stop growing, and stop discovering. Be honest with me. What is the one thing you've always wanted to do but told yourself it was too late? Think about it. Write it down. Or better yet, share it in the comments. Let's make this comments section a declaration zone. If you're thinking, I'm going to go back to school, or start a small business, or learn something new, don't overthink it, because later in this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework I've seen people use, even after 65, to build something real again. But I'm not going to give it to you right now, because first I want to show you something far more important: why so many people feel stuck, and how to get unstuck. Now, I want to say this gently. You may feel alone, but you are not alone. Even when no one else is checking in, a greater power is always listening. And prayer is not a ritual. It is your access point to a power that the world doesn't understand. When I talk to people who have turned their lives around after 60, almost all of them say the same thing. They started asking deeper questions. Not, what can I do, but, what was I created to do? That shift, that's where everything begins. You may be asking, okay, I get it, but what do I do with that energy? What does that look like for someone like me? That is exactly what we're going to get into next. Because the key is not just motivation, but clarity. And when you have clarity, even the foggiest path becomes walkable. So stay with me. What I'm about to share could change how you view the next 20 years of your life. You don't need to catch up to the world. You just need to reawaken the part of you that's still alive. And once that happens, everything else becomes possible. Let's talk about that next. If you're still here, let me tell you something that might surprise you. You are already ahead of most of your peers, because you're still listening. You're still searching. That's what separates the people who get stuck from the people who get unstuck. And that's what I want to talk about now. Because getting unstuck isn't luck. It's not money. It's not even time. It's clarity. Ask yourself this. Be honest. When was the last time you felt truly clear on your purpose? Not just your daily routine, but your purpose. The thing that made you feel useful, important, alive. If it's been a long time, you're not alone. Because I want you to be a part of something right here, right now, that helps you get it back. Here's what happens to most people over 50. They wake up and the new day already feels identical to the last. The news is the same. The people around them are busy. The phone doesn't ring as much. And over time, the mind slows down. Not because it's tired, but because it has nothing new to chew on. That is how people get stuck. Not the body first. Not even the schedule. But the brain stops growing and the spirit stops expecting. That's the real trap. And the only way out is to re-engage your mind. I met a woman at an event once in Arizona. Her name was Ellen. She was 72, quiet, reserved. She told me, I've been invisible for so long. Even at the grocery store, people just seem to walk through me. But then, she started an online course, gardening, then pottery, then watching YouTube tutorials. She started making pottery in her garage. She showed me pictures, bowls, mugs, vases, all beautiful. Now, she sells them at the farmer's market on weekends. She said, I don't do it for the money. I do it because I needed to feel new again. That phrase just stuck with me, I needed to feel new again. That's what being stuck steals from us, the feeling of becoming, of growing. There's a belief that so many people silently carry, if I didn't do it by now, I'll never do it. And that is a lie. A deep, damaging lie. Some of the greatest minds in history didn't do their best work until after they were 60. Colonel Sanders didn't launch KFC until he was 65. Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first book at 60. Grandma Moses started painting at 70. They didn't miss their shot. They were preparing the entire time. They started. They acted even when the world wasn't watching. So here is the real question. What can you do to get unstuck? It's not complicated, but it is initially uncomfortable. Here's a simple starting framework I often share. Ask yourself this daily, what is one thing I can learn today that will make me feel alive again? It could be a tutorial, a podcast, a book, a hobby. Schedule one disruption a week, do something different. Rearrange the furniture. Visit a new place. Try a new recipe. New inputs create new brain pathways. Serve someone without being asked, volunteer. Call someone who is lonely. Write a letter. Purpose often returns when you shift the focus from what you lack to what you can give. I want to know, What is one thing you have always wanted to learn, but never gave yourself permission to try? Share it in the comments. Let this be the moment you write it into the world. And if you're a person of prayer, then tonight, I want you to ask one simple question in your prayer: God, remind me what you still want to do through me. Because no matter your age, your breath is evidence, your purpose is not finished. I promised you at the beginning that I would share a powerful shift, one that 99% of people never make. It's the difference between living out your later years in decline or turning them into the most meaningful season of your life. And I'm going to share exactly how to do that very soon. But first, before we get there, you need to understand the number one mistake that keeps older people trapped in self-doubt. Because without addressing that, the rest won't work. We'll talk about that next. So stay with me. You've made it this far, and that already says something powerful about you. Because while most people would tune out, get distracted, or say, maybe later, you've stayed. Why? Because something inside you knows there is more ahead. And you're right. Earlier, I told you I'd share one of the biggest traps older people fall into, often without even realizing it. And this is so crucial, because if you don't recognize it, you'll continue to talk yourself out of a life that can still be extraordinary. Here it is. Most people over 50 confuse comfort with peace. They think that because their life is quiet, it means it's peaceful. But stillness isn't always peace. Sometimes, it's just paralysis. Sometimes, it's just a life that has stopped moving forward, so much so that nothing can disturb it anymore. And over time, that stillness doesn't calm you. It deadens you. You stop trying. You stop learning. You stop believing that anything new is possible. That is the number one mistake that feeds self-doubt, confusing a small life with a safe one. Think of a lake. When it's still for too long, it looks peaceful. But if nothing is flowing in or out, the water becomes stagnant. It loses its oxygen. It can't sustain life. That's what happens to people who stop growing after 60. Not because they don't have the time or the talent, but because they've convinced themselves that movement is risk and stillness is peace. But the truth is, staying still when your soul wants to move is the slowest way to die. So, ask yourself this. Have you been calling your routine peace when deep down you know it's just existence? Do you wake up each morning with curiosity or with quiet resignation? Be honest with yourself. There is no one else in this room but you. If that resonates with something inside you, share it in the comments. Let me know you're still here, still awake, and still ready. Because now we're going to get into what to do with it. The good news is, you don't have to change your entire life to feel alive again. You just have to start moving forward a little bit with purpose. Here is a tool that I have seen work over and over. The 3M rule. It's a path out of stagnation. Move your body. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Walk, stretch, garden. Movement in your body sends a signal to your life. Move your mind. Learn one new thing a week. It can be so small. How to grow a tomato plant. How to send a digital postcard. How to manage a simple online store. It's not about relevance. It's about regeneration. Move toward others. Call someone. Smile at a stranger. Volunteer at a food bank. Isolation is fertilizer for doubt. But contribution, no matter how small, builds confidence. I once read about a man in Alabama named Charles. He had lived for years alone after he retired. No friends nearby, no kids around. His wife had passed. Every day felt like the last, until one day he signed up to help read to third graders at a school nearby. He said the first day was terrifying. He felt out of place. But 3 weeks later, a little girl looked up at him and said, "I can read that because of you, Mr. Charles." He said it was the first time in 12 years he had felt needed again. That moment broke through years of self-doubt. I believe God didn't just give us breath to exist. He gave us breath to build, to give, to lift others up. Sometimes, our greatest chapters don't begin until we stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I give with what I already know?" Now, remember what I promised you at the beginning. I said there was a reason I almost didn't make this video, but there was also a reason I had to. And in just a moment, I'm going to give you the mindset shift that has changed everything for people I've seen go from invisible to indispensable. But for now, I want to leave you with one truth. Your life is not meant to get smaller with age. It is meant to get sharper. Like a pencil, well used, worn down, but still writing a legacy until the very last word. The best years of your life are not behind you. They are inside you, waiting to be lived. And if you stick with me, I will show you exactly how to do it. If you've stayed with me this far, you're not just curious. You're ready. And I respect that more than I can say, because most people will never hear what I'm about to tell you. Not because it's not there, but because they're too distracted, too numb, or too afraid to face what it requires. But you're different. And now I want to give you the shift. The single mindset shift I have witnessed that transforms a life after 50, 60, even 70 years of struggle, stagnation, and silence. It is this: the rest of your life doesn't have to be a reaction to your past. It can be a response to your future. Most people don't live from the future. They live from the past. They say things like, "I missed my chance. I used to be this way, but now it's too late." But here's the truth. Your past isn't your predictor. It's only your preparation. Every single thing you have been through, every mistake, every regret, every painful moment, it wasn't wasted. It was preparing you to be the person you were meant to be right now. That is the shift. That is the thing 99% of people never see. Ask yourself this. What if everything behind you wasn't a conclusion, but a curriculum? What if your most powerful years aren't about climbing higher, but about giving deeper? Because here's the part that most people never understand until it's too late. At some point, life stops being about what you can get and starts being about what you can give. And that's when everything opens up. A few months ago, I heard about a man named Harold from Wisconsin, 71, retired, widowed, no kids around, just a small pension and a quiet house. One morning, he saw a flyer at a coffee shop: local youth center needs mentors. He didn't think he had much to offer, but something told him to go. And what started as just one afternoon a week turned into a dozen kids calling him Mr. Harold. He taught them basic budgeting, life values, how to change a tire. One boy said, "He's the first man who ever told me I mattered." Do you think Harold needed more money, more comfort, more time? No. He needed to feel useful again. And once he did that, everything else came alive. And I truly believe a shift like that is what God has designed for you. If He still gives you breath, it's because your mission isn't over. And the moment you stop asking, "What have I lost?" and start asking, "What do I still carry that somebody needs?" that's when you become unstoppable. Now, I want to give you something practical, something you can do today before this video ends and life pulls you back into routine. It's a 3-step clarity check. Write it down, meditate on it, and share it with a friend you trust. What part of your life still lights you up? Even a tiny spark is enough. Who could benefit from something you already know? Wisdom doesn't expire. It becomes more valuable. What is one thing you can start doing this week to build someone else up? Start small, but start. Movement creates momentum. Think of yourself like a tree in winter. The world may only see the bare branches, but underneath, the roots are more established than ever. And when spring comes, the tree doesn't start over. It starts again, stronger. That's what I see in you. Not a life that's ending, but a life that's expanding. Not a decline, but a definition. So I ask you now, what are you going to do with what you just heard? Are you going to go back to sleep or wake something up? Are you going to keep waiting or start writing the chapter only you can write? Share your answer in the comments. Don't wait. Declare it. Use that 31-day planner to make it real. And if this message resonated with you, like and subscribe, because someone else might need to hear what you just heard. You're not too old, and you're not too late. You have the power to leave behind something far greater than comfort. You can leave behind meaning. And that makes you stronger than 99% of the world ever realizes. Check out my playlist for more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one.